Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. Guys, have you noticed a trend in Hollywood? I'm sure you have. It's Hollywood bowing down to Chinese officials to please them, to make sure that their movies can be made in China to get more money and that the Chinese government approves of everything in these movies. It's getting pretty out of hand, if you ask me. And it just looks exactly like they just want money. They'll give up any rights or artistic freedom to bow down to the Chinese officials to get what they want. And South Park is not having it. God bless Matt Stone, Trey Parker. They made an episode last week that really took on this topic head on. It was a really funny episode, actually. I'm a big fan. I've always been a South Park, but Randy is now starting a marijuana business in Colorado. So he has this brainstorm to go to China to sell his weed there, to be the first person to offer marijuana in China. So he flies on over, and of course, he's not the only one going to China to save all to get money and please the base there. All of Marvel and Disney all happen to be on the plane with him, which is just a very funny scene. He gets to China, and of course, with all his weed, gets arrested promptly. And there, he's in a Chinese prison. It's a pretty gross scene. This guy does actually take a poop on camera. South Park really likes to show poops on animated poops. It seems to be a thing of theirs. But the conditions obviously there are not good. And then Winnie the Pooh is there because Chinese president is often compared to Winnie the Pooh. So they outlawed and banned Winnie the Pooh from all media, which is insane. And I'm laughing, but it's kind of scary. And then subplot, Stan starts a band. And it's like heavy metal, death metal band. And then they decide to make a biopic because he's so unhappy living in a farm where Randy, his dad, has taken him to grow his marijuana business, that they decide to make a biopic about it. But then, of course, as the biopic continues to happen, Stan realizes that the Chinese officials have to approve every piece of the biopic, and they're always breathing down his neck, reading everything he writes. And then there's a big sort of moment where Stan goes, now I know how all the screenwriters in Hollywood feel. And it is actually a funny and important episode because it really does point out this thing that I think a lot of people in Hollywood don't want to tackle. They don't want to talk about this idea that, yes, we must please the Chinese government to get the films and TV and music and everything to, the billion people money in China. It's a huge cash cow for Hollywood, and the suits want that extra money. So they'll adjust the creative. They'll do whatever the Chinese government wants. Even if we don't really support and like what the Chinese government is doing, it doesn't matter. It's kind of crazy to watch as this is all coming down. And South Park obviously did a big episode, and because of which they have now been scrubbed from Chinese internet, which is insane after this critical episode. As this article breaks down, it got a lot of media attention for its critique of how Hollywood tends to shape its content to avoid offending Chinese government censors in any way whatsoever. Now that those very same government censors in the real world have lashed back at South Park by deleting virtually every clip, episode, and online discussion of the show from Chinese streaming services, social media, and even fan pages. Guys, they literally went through and just scrubbed any mention of South Park over the years. It's all gone. Like, they now are like, South Park is dead to them. They can't be in China. Chinese people cannot watch South Park because South Park was critical to how Chinese government is. This is scary, guys. This is crazy. And so this was a big deal. And they talked about how the draconian response is on par with the course for China's authoritarian government, which is known to aggressively censor Winnie the Pooh. There's a really good John Oliver segment on that we can watch because local internet users had affectionately taken to comparing Chinese President Xi Jinping to the character. On Monday, though, today, the creators issued a statement, an apology, if you will. Our official apology to China from Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. She doesn't look just like Winnie the Pooh. She doesn't look just like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune in to our 300th episode this Wednesday at 10. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn's sorghum harvest be bountiful. We good now, China? I don't think they're good now, China. But this NBA thing is another sort of separate argument piece here, which China, the Houston Rockets, I'm not a sports guy, so bear me, I had to do this. The Houston Rockets made some comments about Hong Kong. And when they were, that whole thing with Mulan, I don't know if you guys remember that. I got to do a deeper dive into this China. And if you know, send me some links because I'm trying to get into this because I want to follow this story. But this Daryl Morey, who is for the Rockets in Houston, made a comment supporting Hong Kong, for support for Hong Kong, anti-government protesters, saying he did not intend to defend any of his teams or Chinese fans, but by doing this, they were immediately banned. And apparently the NBA is now becoming bigger in China, and because of his comments supporting Hong Kong, China then blacklisted him, and then the NBA lost a lot of money. So the NBA then immediately turned ship and made a comment saying that his comments were regrettable, made him delete the tweet, and so on and so on, which then caused huge backlash because everyone's like, what are you doing, NBA? Left and right side were like, come on, this is ridiculous. You can't just then take back a pro-democracy statement and then go into damage control to try and save money. It's just kind of crazy that they're just dollar signs is all this was. There's no integrity to anything. So this was telling. I mean, the fact that they did this. This thing was Houston Rockets tweeted his support for pro-democracy protests that have been raging for weeks in Hong Kong against the oppressive Chinese government. Chinese broadcasters said they would no longer air Houston Rockets games in the country, and since NBA basketball is popular there, the NBA put out a statement saying that they have the great respect for the culture and history of China, which many saw cowardly. So South Park was not going to have it. They came out and just hit it head on and were like, we're not bowing down to Chinese censors, and good for them. I've always been a fan of Trey Parker, Matt Stone. Seems like they've matured. They're coming around, and I think we're in a new renaissance of South Park, I hope, with the season. I'm excited for the 300th episode this Wednesday. I can't watch South Park, though, because I don't have Comedy Central, but I always wait and watch it on the website, which you can do. But I think this is a crazy story. One, it's crazy that this is happening at all, that China can now suddenly censor all of our stuff. Like, if you don't follow them, they just don't put you in the country. And then the fact that studios are going to give up artistic freedom and filmmakers and screenwriters. I mean, remember that Transformers, what was it, Part 4, where they literally just went to China to please the Chinese investors? I mean, this is only going to get crazier and crazier if people and artists like Trey Parker, Matt Stone don't stand up and fight back against this, because we have to be careful. We can't just bow down to any foreign country and listen to their rules and not continue our freedoms of artistic, freedom and speech. So good for Matt and Trey for standing up. I'm all about it. This episode and this season has been very funny, so I'm looking forward to the 300th episode. What do you guys think? If you have any comments or thoughts or stories to share me to sort of get more into this Hong Kong versus China debate, I'm all for it. Hit me up on social media if you have some suggestions, or if you're an expert on this. I'd love to know more. In the meanwhile, what do you think of this specific thought? Are you happy South Park is sticking it to them and staying under their ground? And good on Comedy Central and Viacom for letting them. They sort of have to let them do it, because South Park's still a massive cash cow for them. So it'll be interesting to see who else can stand up and has the weight to sort of say what they want. But now South Park just lost a lot of money, and they don't care. How beautiful is that? What do you guys think? Hit down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, the little notification bell, all that jazz. I appreciate it. I'll be back with more videos very soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.